Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to unpack the latest insights from the tech news and summaries you've shared with us.
Great to be here.
Today, we're jumping into a stack of sources covering, well, everything from potential new gadgets to the ever-growing footprint of artificial intelligence.
Avoid the mix.
Exactly. Our mission, as always, is to cut through the noise, pull out those essential nuggets of knowledge, and get you informed quickly on what's happening and, why it actually matters.
Let's do it.
Okay, first up, let's dive into some gadget talk. There are always rumors swirling, new devices being tested.
Always something new on the horizon.
Well, this one's about Apple and their smart home stuff. We saw reports, including from Bloomberg's Mark Gurman, suggesting we might finally see a new Apple Home device, maybe 2025.
Yeah, I saw that. What's interesting isn't just that it's a new device, but the kind of device they're hinting at.
Okay.
The sources mention things like a 7-inch display, a camera, even a built-in battery.
A battery. Interesting.
And it's supposedly running on a new Home OS.
Right. A display, camera, battery. That sounds quite different from the current HomePods, doesn't it? What does adding those signal for Apple's smart home thinking?
Well, it suggests they're aiming for something more interactive, maybe more integrated. They've had HomeKit for ages, but they've kind of lacked that central visual hub with a camera like some competitors have.
Good point, like Google Nest Hub or Amazon Echo Show.
Exactly. So this device, if it happens like this, it really fills that gap. It definitely reflects that broader trend towards wanting more visual, maybe even portable control points for our smart homes.
Right, moving beyond just yelling commands across the room. Okay, shifting gears a bit. From potential devices to actual real-world testing, one source talked about an experience that felt, well, pretty relatable.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to use smart tech, specifically the Garmin Smart Wake feature, to get that perfect, gentle wake-up.
Ah, yes, the dream. The idea is clever track your sleep cycle, trigger the alarm when you're in a lighter phase. Theoretically, you wake up feeling more refreshed.
Sounds brilliant on paper, like gently easing into the day. Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
But the outcome for the writer, just as tired as ever, which, let's be honest, isn't that often the case with tech promising to optimize our actual lives?
It absolutely highlights that challenge, doesn't it? Sure. Sensors can collect data, sure, but truly understanding and influencing something as complex as a biological sleep cycle, that's incredibly hard.
Yeah.
There's often this gap between the promise of tech optimization and the, messy reality of individual human experience. We see it all the time in personal tech.
It's a good reminder that tech is just a tool, not magic.
Definitely not magic, especially at 6 a.m.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's look up literally. Drones. According to some recent rumors in the sources, DJI might be prepping 3 new models.
Yes, the leaks seem to point towards updates for some pretty key product lines. The Mini 5 Pro, the Avatar 3, and a Neo 2.
Okay, so significant updates then.
Yeah, these are big because they represent the next step for devices that are super popular, with hobbyists, but also pros.
And there were some specific rumored updates that jumped out. The Avatar 3, that's their FPV drone, right?
Mm-hmm.
It might get changes to where the battery sits, maybe a larger camera, even a different propeller design, 4 blades instead of 3.
Those were all plausible tweaks for performance or handling, but the Mini Pro detail was maybe even more interesting.
Oh, right, the battery. An FCC filing hinted at a significantly bigger battery, like jumping to 33.5 watt-hours.
Exactly. And for smaller drones like the Mini series, battery life is often the main constraint.
Totally.
So a jump like that, it's not just a small bump. It could seriously change the user experience, allowing for much longer flights. These rumored updates really seem focused on core performance stuff users probably want.
Makes sense. Okay, so from gadgets we hold or fly, let's shift gears now to the massive, almost invisible world of artificial intelligence infrastructure and its influence. These sources really touched on how AI is showing up everywhere.
And the sheer scale of the infrastructure needed for the cutting edge. It's just immense. One report detailed Oracle planning to buy something like 400,000 NVIDIA GB200 chips.
400,000?
Yep, for their new Stargate data center down in Texas.
Wow, just that number.
Yeah.
It gives you a sense of the astronomical compute power, the investment required to build and run these advanced AI models.
It's hard to even wrap your head around that scale, isn't it? It really highlights that while we interact with AI through like a chatbot or an app, the foundation is built on this unprecedented level of hardware and, frankly, energy consumption.
And all that infrastructure, it's supporting some huge ambitions, like the focus on artificial general intelligence, AGI. That
Mhm.
came up in the sources, mentioning folks like Demis Hassabis at Google DeepMind.
Right. The race isn't just about building better tools anymore. It's potentially about creating intelligence that could match or even exceed human abilities across, well, almost everything.
Which is a whole other conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But what's fascinating is how that really ambitious long-term goal of AGI is actually driving very real, very near-term applications, even in critical fields like surgery.
Surgery. Okay, now that sounds serious.
It is. Now, the sources were clear. This isn't autonomous robots doing complex operations all by themselves. Not yet, anyway.
Okay, good. You.
But the tech is apparently getting close to being capable of handling certain tasks within surgery. The idea is they could help manage the increasing demand for procedures, maybe improve safety and consistency.
How? By doing routine steps.
Exactly. Handling routine parts with high precision, maybe even helping prevent mistakes. It shows AI moving beyond just, office efficiency tools into these areas where precision and reliability are absolutely critical.
And the future potential there.
Well, the sources suggested future robots using AI might perform more surgical tasks autonomously, needing less direct human input. Which is significant, especially when you think about things like a potential shortage of surgeons down the line versus rising healthcare needs.
So, AI augmenting human capability where it's really needed.
That seems to be the potential benefit, yeah.
Okay, so huge infrastructure, grand ambitions, critical applications like surgery. But what about the impact, maybe closer to home, on just the nature of our jobs? One source looked at coders at Amazon.
Right. That piece suggested that for some coders, especially maybe the less experienced ones, using these new AI coding tools is making their work feel a bit more routine,
Routine how?
less like deep creative problem solving, and more, well, faster paced, just getting code out the door. And there's this expectation that smaller teams can maintain the same output levels using AI assistants.
Ah, the productivity angle. So, from a manager's view, it's great. AI makes you faster, frees you up for interesting stuff.
That's the pitch, often.
But from the worker's perspective, especially someone still learning, it sounds like the source suggested it felt less like being freed up and more like the actual work is changing, shifting from, I don't know, artisanal coding to more like,
Factory work for code?
yeah.
Yeah, that comparison was made. It brings up that core tension, right? Efficiency gains driven by AI are great for the bottom line, but what does it mean for skill development, for job satisfaction, for the value of deep understanding versus just rapid assembly?
Big questions about the human side of all this.
Definitely.
And for people actually in tech right now, this creates a bit of a dilemma, which the sources touched on. Should you try to go super deep into developing the underlying AI models, the LLMs, or focus more on just getting really good at using them?
Yeah, that's a key question. The perspective shared in one piece was that these foundation models, the LLMs, they're increasingly becoming, well, commoditized. Meaning building them from scratch takes incredibly specialized, hardcore computer science, math skills, huge resources. It's not something most people or even companies can realistically do.
So for many people in tech, maybe the smarter path isn't trying to build the next GPT from the ground up,
Probably not.
but becoming incredibly skilled at integrating these powerful tools, building applications on top of them, solving specific problems with them.
Exactly. As these AI capabilities get more accessible through APIs and platforms, the value shifts. It's less about building the core engine, maybe, and more about being the master mechanic who knows how to use that engine effectively in different ways. Application and integration become key.
Okay, that makes sense. And speaking of usage and accessibility, the sources also looked at the adoption trend for generative AI, using ChatGPT data as kind of a proxy.
It had that incredibly fast initial growth, right? Faster than PCs, the web, smartphones.
Yeah, partly because it was just so easy to try. It was just a website, basically.
That low barrier to entry was huge. But the sources also pointed out a potential challenge.
Which was?
The ratio of daily active users compared to weekly active users. Apparently, it isn't as strong as you might expect for something that's become a truly essential, must-use everyday tool.
So lots of people are trying it or using it sometimes, maybe once a week.
But fewer are integrating it into their absolute daily routine.
Right. What might that suggest? Why isn't everyone using it constantly if it's so powerful?
Well, it could suggest that the current interface, the chatbot, while great for certain things like exploration or specific queries, might not be the perfect format for becoming a seamless part of everyone's daily workflow.
Interesting.
It implies that maybe future AI will find more consistent, daily use when it's embedded more naturally within the apps and experiences we already use all the time, rather than being, a separate place you have to go to, like a specific chat window.
Ah, so AI becoming more invisible, just part of the background in our existing tools.
Potentially, yeah.
Hmm.
That could be where deeper adoption lies for many use cases.
Wow. Okay. We've really covered a lot of ground today. From, specific gadget rumors like that Apple HomePad and the drone
And
updates.
the real world struggles with tech, like the smart alarm clock.
Yes. To the massive scale of AI infrastructure, AI moving into critical fields like surgery, the shifts it seems to be causing in how coding work feels.
And then the nuances of adoption. Why aren't we all using chatbots daily? It's a really diverse snapshot these sources provided.
It really is, highlighting both the incredible capabilities being developed so quickly.
And also some of the really complex questions they raise about, adoption, human skills, and that constant tension between the promise of technology and the day-to-day reality.
Absolutely. So as you listening reflect on all these different threads, this push for more integrated tech in our homes, the huge ambition behind AGI fueled by unbelievable infrastructure, AI starting to touch high-stakes fields like surgery, and the way it might be changing the texture of daily work.
Mm.
Here's maybe a final thought to chew on.
Mhm.
As efficiency and capability continue to be the main drivers behind so much AI development, how is that going to fundamentally reshape not just what we do for work, but maybe what skills are truly valued, and maybe even change what it means to be productive or creative when these AI tools are just everywhere?